But you won't sit back there, right?
Yeah, I'll sit here.
Because you're the timer? We really appreciate it. My name is Linda Camden, and this is
Laura Breezy.
And we've been Raintree residents. Mike and I have been here for almost 5 years. And Laura, you have been here?
My husband's been here since 2003, and I joined him in 2011.
So out of curiosity, would love to know how long some of you have lived here. So is anyone here 20 plus years in Raintree? Yay. Wow. All right. So which way should I go now? I should go, okay, up to 15? Is that the way it works? 15 to 20, are you in that range?
You are, yeah.
Okay. 10 to 15?
So,
Wow. Okay. 5 to 10? Okay. And anyone under 5?
How about under 2?
Okay.
Under 2 years?
And under 2?
Under a year.
Just made a year.
All right.
just inside
How
the
long
gate.
have you been?
Just inside.
And still
Well, welcome again, and we really appreciate you taking your time this evening to come to this town hall meeting where we will be focusing on covenants and bylaws and the opportunity to amend them by creating ballot items. Now, we're not necessarily going to create the ballot items tonight, but we're going to have a discussion about the covenants and the bylaws and how to go about making those ballot items for this upcoming election. Some ground rules that we're going to do. First of all, this is Jerry Jean sitting in the corner here. She's our gavel lady. We're not going to get out of hand, so we're never going to hear that gavel tonight, right? But it's there in case we need it. We do want, of course, everyone to respect each other and speak one person at a time. Derek is live streaming this, so if anyone's on live stream, we appreciate you being on live stream with us. And, we're going to kind of limit to 3 minutes at a time. What was that, Derek?
We have 11 viewers right now.
11?
11. Welcome.
Awesome, yeah, welcome. 3 minutes per person per discussion, but we're not hard and fast on that. But we just want to make sure everyone has the opportunity.
Might as well drop the last
Dropping everything.
We want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to express their voice. That's the whole concept of the town hall meetings.
Is
the only way to live stream it by going on Facebook, or can you go on the POA website?
Derek?
It'll be on the POA website. It'll be on the Raintree POA Facebook page, as well as Priority Media Raintree Plantation edition.
Okay, so that's
So
priority.
if they want to watch it now,
Right now it's live on, I posted the link on the Raintree POA page. I also have it posted on my page, the Priority Media.
And
Thank
to
you.
clarify, the Raintree POA page you're referring to is the one that says Raintree POA Community?
Yes. The one
And
that
it's on
the
Facebook?
agenda was.
Yeah, on Facebook.
oh, okay.
It was the one the agenda was posted to, or the announcement for this, the MailChimp announcement. I posted that.
So we're assuming that live stream people can hear us even though we're this far from you.
I'm assuming, John, can you hear us? We'll see if I get a comment back.
Okay, because we do want to say if you're live streaming now, you can comment, and Derek will read the comments so that you can be part of the discussion this evening.
We've had a couple comments.
Hopefully-
John said hello.
Okay, hello, John. So just so you know, there are some snacks over here. There's some bottled water, popcorn, pretzels, candy bars, and I even threw in some sticks of gum if you're interested in that. And if you didn't get a name tag, we would appreciate if you wouldn't mind wearing a name tag so that we can call you by name and not say, hey, you. And there are handouts, and there are blackboards and pens to just make it easier for you to sit in your chair with that.
We don't have names.
I give you discrepancies.
No, sorry. You'll be the only one in the whole circle without a name tag.
That's Dwayne, by the way.
You're going to have name tags and no pen.
That's Dwayne.
Okay, so I can also share that we kind of have some guiding principles that we've come up with a while ago at different community meetings like this, where we're asking everyone to keep in mind that we're going for the good of the whole, right? For the betterment of Raintree. Treat each other with dignity and respect. Everyone is welcome and belongs here as well as in Raintree. We're talking about issues, problems, facts, not people. We want you to, we're inviting you to contribute to the discussion, be an active listener, pay attention to what someone's saying, be an active listener, ask questions when appropriate, respect all views, be optimistic. You know, we're making a positive difference here in Raintree. And by the end of this meeting, we're going to end on a high note. So that's how we're all going to leave on fire for what we've discussed here this evening. All right, I think I got my part done.
Okay. Well, as you came in, hopefully some of you grabbed our handouts for tonight. One is this little half sheet. If you don't have one, I can pass them out. But it basically states the basic difference between bylaws, covenants, and rules. And then it gives the 2023 timeline for the ballot process for this year, kind of a step-by-step thing. The little note down here that states what happens after the election. Some of you may not know what's required. So at your leisure, read that. There's also a copy of the current September 23, 2022 bylaws, a guide to the covenants, and the, I'm just going to assume September 23, 2022 covenants also. Also, for those of you watching at home or watching this later on, all of these documents right here are available for downloading on the Raintree POA website. That's www.raintreepoa.net. Any questions? Anybody need any of these? No? Okay.
Kathy, did you need your own? Or thank you so much.
All right, I think we're, with that, I think our introductions and thank yous and ground rules are done, so.
Okay, this is how we think we want to do this. Let's see if it flies that way. We want you to have the opportunity that if you've been looking at the covenants and bylaws and have an idea of what you want changed, we're just going to make a laundry list of them right now. We're not going to ask you to go into detail about that thing. We want to see, you know, who has what, not who, but what we have to talk about this evening so that we know if we're talking about 6 items or 106 items. So we're going to laundry list it here. Of course, at some point we're going to go, okay, let's grab one and let's talk about it. And that's how we're going to do it. Everybody good with that? All right. Who would like, again, one at a time, who would like to speak first of, is there something from the covenant or the bylaws that you would like to see amended? What area, what topic is it? Joe?
Yeah. For a person living here, a single man, a single woman who gets married, their spouse has no rights at all, basically.
Okay.
They're not allowed.
I have a response to that.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that's more of an issue in the rules versus what I have seen in the covenants and the bylaws.
Okay. So we're not covering the rules.
Not covering the rules, not in this meeting.
Okay.
Only because.
But it is going to be a ballot item for me. That I'm going to put that in as a ballot item.
Do we need to ask the board member how that works?
You can suggest a new,
That's a suggestion.
a new ballot item,
To change the
Yes, you
rules?
can add,
You can,
Well, if it goes
you can
in,
add it to a new covenant.
if it goes in the covenants, then it will become part of the.
So is that reflected
In addition.
in the covenant or just the rule change?
I'd like to see it changed. It has to be through the covenants
Doesn't
or through
have
the
to
rules.
be.
Huh?
Doesn't have to be, but if you can change the rule without changing the covenant. If you change the covenant, the rule goes away, and then it has to be voted on to change, so it just depends on.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, how's it going to be changed otherwise?
Okay, so if he has a suggestion to change a rule, what is the proper form of communication to tell a board member?
Why doesn't he just say what it is he would like to see?
Hold on.
Yes, I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
Say it again.
He wants
Hold
the,
on, I
He
just,
hasn't
Hey,
said
Joe?
yet what he wants.
What exactly are you looking at?
but if it's a rule,
For-
we defined it's a rule,
Well, I mean,
bless you.
Well, I'm talking
well, if you
about.
state
Huh?
if you state what you're looking for, then we can discuss, is it in the covenants or not?
I'm not sure where it's
It's
at.
not in the covenant.
All I'm saying is,
She's looked.
Because I've reviewed them line by line.
a wife should have the
Because we've
same,
had a previous discussion.
a wife should
Can
have the
we hear
same.
it? Sure. Do me a favor, Joe, if you don't mind, stand up and say clearly what you just said, because some people didn't actually hear your
Okay, all I'm
suggestion.
saying is the wife or the husband of the person appearing on the deed to the home should have the same rights and privileges as the person on the deed. That means they can come up here and they can buy passes, they can buy day passes, but they shouldn't be turned away because they're married. That's it.
They are on the deed, or they are not?
Not.
They're not.
If they were on the deed, it wouldn't be a question, it would be good to go.
So, in past years, just to offer this, a lot of times people have suggested changes that they like to see, and the board figures out if their rules or their covenants. We don't shut anybody down from making their suggestion,
Okay.
and then we figure out what's the best way to approach that.
Okay?
May I?
Yes.
The only reason why we said that's a rule and not a covenant or a bylaw issue is because we wanted to focus on just the covenants and the bylaws and not focus on rule changes, which is, there's a different path to change the rules. This is for bylaws, covenant changes and additions. You could make a recommendation to add it into the covenant if it's not already
You know,
there.
I'll put a bell in there.
Fine.
Will somebody just like, can we go back to square one? And what the difference between the covenants and.
That's in that little
rules?
handout that I did, the little half sheet. So basically, bylaws are written for organizations to provide structure for that organization. For Raintree, it talks about the membership, being a member of the Raintree Property Owners Association. It talks about the board of directors. It talks about how often they have the meetings and the annual meetings, stuff like that. The covenants are the restrictions for belonging to the Property Owners Association. What you can do with your lot, where you can
Building restrictions, how you
building
take care of your
restrictions
pets, all kinds
and,
of.
so covenants are the restrictions for that entity, for this entity. And then the rules go into more detailed, specific processes. You have to have this, like, for example, proof of insurance for your boat, your golf cart. That is what's in the rules. And the rules also include the censures and, you know, what happens if you fail to abide by those rules.
And Kathy has her hand up.
I respect that there obviously was previous discussion between you, Laura, and Joe on this item, but since this tonight, well, Laura kind of,
You're good. No, you're
Meeting's
good.
over.
It's not you.
No.
It's not you. Go ahead.
okay, inferred to that, but since this is an open forum, and since none of us were in tune
Right,
to that, may I please continue?
Yeah.
Thank you. Since none of us were in tune to that private discussion, as it may be, since this is an open forum, I would propose that anything similar to this, and respectively, thank you very much for letting us know what this was about, and if this comes up again, that we do let everyone in this room know what it is that we all are talking about, since this is, again, an open forum and it involves every single one of us in Raintree. Thank you.
Are you finished? And I would.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Wholeheartedly agree with that. We've established that. Is there anyone else out there? Jerry Jean, do you have another ballot item suggestion?
No, but I would like to say one thing, that everything that was put out was put out that this was regarding the covenants and the bylaws.
And I would like to
For
suggest that
discussion.
it's difficult to understand what's a covenant, what's a bylaw, what's a rule, because I too have lived here for 5 years, and I have to admit, I cannot stand reading any of that stuff because it's all gobbledygook. So that's why I enlist my husband Mike, who has more patience than I, to go through that. But still, the point is, it's hard to know, is it a covenant, is it a bylaw or a rule? And so we appreciate that you brought up something, but I think we've clarified it's a rule, therefore it doesn't need to be a ballot item unless you want to make it into covenant, which is a whole other thing.
No,
Yeah.
if it's a rule, no, it'd be a
Yeah.
rule.
Then there's another avenue for taking.
Right.
So let's move on.
Okay, hold on. So Derek's next, sorry.
I've got an online one. They want to propose a ballot item where a property homeowner cannot work in the office due to personal and confidential information of neighbors.
Okay. Thank you. You got all that, right? Kathy.
Again, respectfully acknowledging that this was classified, but until Joe clarified exactly what it was, after Laura,
Okay.
all due respect, shutting him
We
down.
understand.
All due respect, Laura, may I speak? Shutting him down without him speaking about what exactly it was.
Okay.
No one in this room knew exactly what it was. So without him knowing what it was, we did not know whether it was a covenant or that. So if we all are open forum, it should be open forum. Thank you very much.
Okay, point taken. As you can see, we just started this. He was our first guinea pig. And already we're like, okay, how do we manage that? But I think we have,
Do
we
you
have
have
an
one as a
idea.
property owner?
I just have one question. I hear what Kathy's saying and what it is for ballot items, but that, just so for clarity, are we determining that here? Because that is neither the second item.
What is-
Well, for right now, I think everybody, well, I won't
Just
speak for
put
everybody.
anything up there?
Put anything,
Yeah.
anything up here, we'll figure it out later.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right? We
perfect.
don't want to stifle anybody's ideas. We can, yeah, 101 of brainstorming, throw what's out there and see what sticks.
Good point, Kathy. Thank you much.
Yeah.
Dave, thanks for clarifying. So yeah, okay, so now what I've understood, no matter if it's a covenant, a rule, or a bylaw, if you
We'll
have
figure it
something
out
on your
later.
mind, tell us. And then we can noodle through which one it is and go from there on it. Sound good? Everybody good with that? All right. Anyone else have a recommended change to something here at Raintree?
I do. Currently in the covenants, it says we can only have 2 pets of any one kind, or 2 pets of any kind. I would like to see that changed or clarified further.
So are you asking for people to be able to have more pets? Is that the idea, or?
I would like it further defined, because does that mean you can only have 2 dogs, but you can't have a cat, and you can't have a fish tank full of fish? It just is, to me, it's not clear.
Okay.
And I think we're gonna stay on let's get the topic up here and then let's ask for further, just because we don't know how much we have to talk about tonight. And we know people are, just getting warmed up. So hopefully we'll get warmed up and go, oh, I have one, I have one, I have one. John, you have one.
I have, this came through email to us. We would like, if you put your lot or home into a trust, that the people who are beneficiaries of the trust are allowed to use the amenities as they may be treated like an owner.
Okay, that's an idea. Next. Desiree?
One of the things that's in the covenants, it says that with our lots, we're not allowed to camp in the backyard. And I think that's kind of not so much fun, because some of us have kids that want to be able to camp.
Just for clarification, are you meaning if you have a home, you should be allowed to camp?
Yes,
Resident?
for like one night or so. But the way it reads in the covenant, I mean, there's nothing that actually explicitly says that you're not allowed to do anything. It just says no camping.
Right. Next.
Okay, in the newsletter you all sent out about stickers and prices and whatever. In the covenants, under rights and powers, 3, 2, it talks about stickers. Right now, the way you guys have worded it in the newsletter, it says, if you want to park at the beach, you need to display a Raintree sticker. So a lot of people now are thinking they don't have to buy a sticker for their car, because where in the covenants it says in order to be a resident of Raintree, you have to have that sticker.
Okay, thank you for
So
that.
That needs
So we're
clarification.
going to leave it here and we will discuss it here in this meeting, I believe, just to clarify. Next, another idea?
I'd like to see some clarification around it. No signs of any nature.
That's a good one.
So do you mean like no deer?
No deer, no
I'm
trespassing,
teasing.
no littering.
No.
We'll build house,
Next?
whatever. That's what.
Okay, I think somewhere, I don't know if it's a covenant, rule, or a bylaw, it talks about no businesses from your home. I don't know how it states, but no businesses out of your house or something like that, so.
Put that on there too.
Yeah.
Great discussion so far.
Any
Please
other
give my
live stream?
It
spelling.
says no signs of any nature, business or otherwise.
And then separate issue would be the businesses from home.
A business.
You can have to look. You can have to look. They can't stop.
That's on there. We can't have political signs.
Is there another topic?
Different
Bylaws? Derek, you got somebody?
Someone here would like to remove the rule that homeowner must accompany guests to amenities.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
We're-
Say it
we're open
again.
to all
Could you?
ideas.
I didn't hear that.
It says, would like to remove rule that homeowner must accompany guest to amenities.
Amenity.
Like down to the
Like go
beach.
down to the beach. You're supposed to go.
You're supposed to go down to the beach for the
As I
house.
say, I'm,
Your guest.
I keep my amenities pretty personal.
Anything else? Otherwise, I'm gonna pull mine out.
otherwise you can what?
Pull mine out. I got mine all highlighted.
Well, here's one.
Okay,
All buildings and landscaping must be completed within 9 months from the time of beginning of construction. Now, that, I just have a comment since I built a house during COVID and it was definitely not possible to build within 9 months.
Censure.
because you have it about these, and then maybe that will stimulate more ideas, right, as we go through it. Did we intend to identify which document this is out of? Is that our next step?
That's what I'm kind of doing right now.
Okay. How would you like me to proceed while you're reading it?
Just keep talking.
Oh. Okay. Oh, Kathy has something.
2C under covenants and restrictions. The Architectural Control Committee or its successors and assigns prior to approving plans and specifications shall require evidence that the residence to be constructed shall be equipped with off-street parking suitable to handle 2 full-sized automobiles. So he has to provide sufficient parking for 2 full automobiles off-street. Not all residences have that. Some residences that are grandfathered don't have that.
Okay, I am going to wait for Laura because as soon as you said the 8th word, I couldn't understand any of it. And that's where my downfall of not being able to get through
That's
this.
for new builds.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah,
I'm
you're
sorry.
right.
That's for new builds.
Okay.
They're saying when you build a house, it has to have a minimum 2-car parking. So the houses that are already here, it doesn't apply to.
Okay,
So is it still something you would like
so,
me to?
well, I mean, I guess my thought would be, shouldn't it have like a date then?
You're talking about 2C, right?
Yeah.
So it says prior to approving plan
Shouldn't it be as
specifications,
of?
shall require evidence that the residence to be constructed shall have be equipped with on-street parking or with the off-street parking suitable for 2 full-size vehicles. It's just saying that the driveway has to be long enough for 2 cars or wide enough for 2 cars. And then we dictate that at the ACC when we go to approve the plans. So at that point, we would know whether or not we have on-street, enough off-street parking. It's just saying that the driveway has to be big enough.
So that would be new, okay.
Yeah.
So is that a change?
Okay.
Are you good
Yeah,
with that,
is that
Kathy?
Thank you. That I understand.
Change.
Okay. I guess we should start at the top. And we already decided, Joe, do you feel like we answered everything enough so that you know what your next step is?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody understands. I mean,
But do you know what to do next? Because we haven't.
I'm not really sure, that wouldn't be a valid idea.
It would not be a valid item unless you wanted to have it in the covenants. Are you saying that?
I don't really know where it would go, so I you know.
Okay, so we believe the solution for Joe's,
Well, I would just say this one today. If somebody feels that they want, a change made, put it on the board. I'm assuming you're gonna go through what they have to do to formally submit these.
that's where we are right now. His was
is-
first.
So, as an example, Joe, write it up, submit it, and as the board starts reviewing these, we will decide, is it bylaw, covenant, rule?
Okay.
If it's a rule, then why, because we normally ask the property owner submitted the item to attend the board meeting when we start reviewing them, so we can ask any questions of them as the board. And then we can clarify, and we'll decide then during that process as to, are we going to pursue it as a rule, and give it to the committees to deal with, or do we want it written in the covenant so that it, has to be there via vote?
Valid act.
Right, so, and some of the things that are a rule, people have asked in the past, formally put it in the covenants. Add it to the covenant, so that's a possibility, from there.
But Joe, what are you wanting for her? You want her to be able to vote in place of you if you
Well,
can't
yeah.
vote?
I mean, and come up here and maybe buy stickers, guest passes. They can't do that right now. They can't even submit a check, my understanding. The office won't take a check unless it's in the person on the
Deed.
deed.
Okay.
They won't even take a check.
Okay, so
Tim has a
it would
comment
need,
about that.
it would need further clarification of what the rights would be under
Exactly.
that. Okay.
For example, when I purchased my house, my wife and I was not married at the time. We were living together.
Your girlfriend and you were not married at the time.
So, she is not on the deed to the house. She can't do nothing. The office will not, she tried to pay the assessments. She cannot even pay the assessments and stuff. So, if she goes to get a sticker for her car, she can't, if it's in her name only, my name's not on it, they will not sell her a sticker. So he wants, if it's spouses or whatever, to be able to have the same rights, whether or not your name's on the deed.
Yeah, and it can go further than that to the children, but let's don't even go there right now.
Can I
Stick with
ask-
the spouses, yeah.
So I guess I don't understand. Nobody in their right mind, if somebody's willing to pay for something, will not accept payment. Is there somewhere that we state that my cousin can't come and pay my assessments if I give him a check? That sounds crazy.
It has to be your check.
Why?
Your check.
Why?
Because you're the property owner.
you're the one on the deed.
Somebody
You're the
can
one
correct
on the
me.
deed.
Up until now, recently, somebody could bring anybody else's cash and pay. It's not necessarily my cash.
Right.
Why do we care who they get the check from?
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes.
Because that's crazy to me
That's a
too. Why
valid
wouldn't we
point.
take money from people?
Right.
But I tried to deposit something
Well,
into my daughter's
before-
account.
Not to interrupt you, but is that a rule or a covenant that we currently have?
Of what?
that.
That they won't
occupancy
take,
don't-
that they won't.
Based
take
on
the
Tim's
net.
scenario is what I'm
Yeah,
going
that
off.
they won't.
I think it's in the covenant, you have to be a property owner.
To make a payment?
No,
that
it's
wouldn't-
just a
To the
certain
check.
lifestyle of property.
Yeah, it has
So
to be
you
on
won't
That
accept
wouldn't
money
be-
from anybody?
One at a
else?
time, one at a time, so we can hear.
To answer Dave's question, I have not seen anything in the covenants that says that you must be on the deed for the office to receive payment.
Okay.
From you.
That's-
And in my opinion, it shouldn't be in there. That to me is a procedural thing for the office.
Well, I think going forward, it'd be a moot point because if they're trying to buy something out of the office, you need to be the property owner to buy it.
So
So,
I,
go ahead.
I have a problem with that. Respectfully, if I'm the property, if I'm the only one listed on the property, and I'm laying in a hospital with COVID on a resuscitator, and I'm unable to function anything, and my dues come up. So is a party not available, and I don't have a DNR or anything, I don't have a power of attorney or anything, are you saying that no one from my family or anybody from my family can come in and take care of my financial problem issues?
What I'm saying is.
Laura said
you
it's a
can't buy-
procedural.
One at a time.
You can't buy a sticker, you can't buy a guest pass, you can't buy the.
I'm not talking about buying a guest
Well, that's
pass,
what I
I'm
said,
taking,
Kathy,
I'm-
that's what I said.
Okay.
and I appreciate that, and I said respectfully, I said, are you telling me that anybody from my family cannot take care of my financial issues? My financial issues would be my assessments.
No, that they can do, in my mind.
No.
Well, like Laura said, that's a procedural issue, not a rule or a covenant. So
That's what the office is doing
I'm just
right now.
telling, yeah, but that's a procedure that we can
Because
fix.
I had someone tell me today, a wife tried to come up here to take care of something, and she's not on the deed to the house.
No, I get that, Tim, I'm just saying, that is an error on how we have run the office, not a rule or a
It's always
bylaw that
been
has
that
to
way.
be
I thought it
changed.
was in the thing.
Well, if somebody finds it, then it is an issue.
Okay, so.
Right now, they can pay assessments.
I respect the always,
For us to-
but always does not mean that it's correct.
They can't buy
It's
stickers
not-
right now.
I'm not talking about buying stickers, I'm talking about a timely issue of if I am the only person on the deed of my house and I am laying in the hospital on COVID in the ICU, can my nephew, who knows all my financials, come up and take care of my financial issues before they go to the collection agency?
Okay. So I wrote it up here, I think if a
Research
family
it.
member wants to pay my assessment, if I authorize them to, so let's discuss
But
that.
that's, and I apologize for interrupting, but that's the thing, if I authorize, if I'm in an ICU unit, I'm not gonna be able to authorize.
I don't know health aspects really well, but I thought that power of attorney is.
But it doesn't have a power of attorney. Why can't anybody come up and just, why can't you just accept, there's cash flow coming in, you got a cash cow coming in and pay somebody's debt. Why turn the cow away?
Starting with your 2023 assessment, they are not paid here anymore, they're paid to city and village.
There you go.
So city and village is not going to know if you mailed in a check, if the check came from your nephew, as long as he's clear in the check that it's for
Right.
you and your property. So they're not going to stop an assessment payment from going through, as long as they can tie it to who it is. So, I mean, if he just sent a check in under his name, no tie in to you, they're not gonna know how to post a check, but, you know, the payments are, and if you walk up to city with the payment and know who it's supposed to be applied to, they're not going to send you away for that.
Does that answer you, Kathy? Is that a good solution?
So all you need, well, I mean, for anybody, this helps with Joe as well.
Just,
So with the 2023 assessment, there will be no
Discrimination.
It has to be paid by somebody.
paying
on the deed.
assessments. Okay.
Don't check for that. All they're gonna check for is that they can tie the payment to the property line.
Okay, so for those that are discussing the definition of a property owner, I would point you to the covenants, paragraph 4B, for potential changes, additions, etc. Thank you, Desiree, for pointing that out. And Derek, do you have a new one?
I just have a question. So this year's assessments, we can't walk into here and pay?
Not anymore.
No. Dave?
I have what needs to be a ballot item, but it needs to be a serious planning session because our own attorney about 4 years ago said that our bylaws and covenants need to be completely rewritten. For that to happen, it's got to be a ballot item because we can't change one single letter in the bylaws or covenants without a vote. So it's almost like a two-step ballot item. Yes, let's approve to update the entire bylaws and covenants, and then the second one would be, this may take a year or two to do, and then be a work. Yeah.
this.
So I don't know how that gets worded or how I could talk to the lawyer about it, but that's my big number one.
That's a great idea, Derek.
Because I think it eliminates a lot of what's going on right here.
I did notice in my review that there's several different paragraphs under one, which is titled restrictions relating to the use of lots that don't have anything to do with using your lot. So I might make a ballot item to create another section and move those related items.
For anybody that's here, what I was referring to is there's rules that contradict covenants, there's covenants that contradict rules, and the previous one that we just experienced, you gotta have a sticker that somebody just mentioned to drive on the roads, and then there's another one that says unless you own a car, a van, or a truck, you don't need one. So those are the kinds of things that need to be just completely went through and cleaned up.
There's some that say it's not allowed in the sentence, and the sentence right after it says, here's the exception to allow.
Does anybody have any recommended changes or additions to the bylaws? We've talked a lot about the covenants and potentially some rule changes, but the bylaws, as far as the structure, do we want to increase the board members or decrease the board members? Do we want to change whether or not they can take out a loan with or without our permission? I'm just throwing stuff out there. I'm not for or against any of the things I just said.
Don't you think it's like a progressive process, though? We have to go through the covenants, and if you're gonna then add them to change something there, that's a vote, and then you can incorporate them into the bylaws. I mean, this is gonna take a while. This is not gonna happen overnight.
No. I'm talking separately from Dave's idea of having the
Right,
attorney.
but why bring those ideas in now when the covenants are the thing that has to go forward first?
No, that is not an accurate statement. You can change bylaws and covenants in the same election.
I understand that, but the thing is half the time, our bylaws are contradicting the covenants, but you have a covenant that says one thing, and then bylaws have been changed without amending the covenants. Yeah.
I would just advise you to take a closer look at the structure of the bylaws versus the covenants, as because they're two different types of documents,
And you're
serving two different purposes.
Kathy Bailey.
Okay, Kathy, my comment to that is, I was similar to you, thinking the covenant was like the cornerstone of everything, and the bylaws somehow, came off of that. And then I was corrected because I don't read any of them, because I can't stand reading them, so.
Unless there's somebody else out there that can further clarify the difference between the bylaws and the
Yeah.
covenant.
So the bylaws mostly dictate the structure of the board.
Yes.
And its roles,
And-
responsibilities, and duties within
Not just the
itself.
board, but the Property Owners Association.
Correct, and it's
Because
not,
it talks
the
about
the
membership.
bylaws aren't necessarily rules. Rules are the rules.
Right, right.
The bylaws is just like, the vice president does this, the treasurer does this, and it kind of structures how this is ran from a management standpoint that follows Robert's Rules of Order.
Correct.
So it's not necessarily, they can't,
But you guys disbanded the Robert.
No, we didn't disband them. We will do our best to follow them,
Right,
but
okay.
even the judges that wrote Robert's Rules of Order
Right.
don't know every page of Robert's Rules of Orders. So we are doing our best to follow them, but we're not mandated to the word
So,
or period.
to clarify, there's not really a way for the covenants to really contradict the bylaws, because the bylaws is more just like an org chart, and the covenants are more the meat and potatoes. The rules, like the ACC rules and the covenants may overlap each other in some places, because it's designed for the covenants to be the overwhelming idea, and then the other committees are there to kind of reinforce that idea, and through issues and things like that, adjust those and make it either more specific or more lenient, whatever, to kind of further clarify it. So the bylaws are,
So state again one more time for me. The
Exactly.
bylaws are more like an organization of the people involved with all of Raintree, starting with the board and what they do, us members.
correct, and
Okay.
how, what duties they hold and kind of what their responsibilities are.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I know. You're pointing that way.
Exactly.
Question for Nick?
Exactly, because you have to have a foundation of covenants on which you can have a structure of foundational bylaws stretched out to form your organization on which your covenants, on which you form your organization based upon your covenants. If you do not have a firm set of covenants, your structured foundation of bylaws in your organization, the way your organization is going to be set up, it's going to fall flat.
Right, and to Dave's points, the covenants are extraordinarily difficult to uphold. So if you have like an ACC issue and you want to build a 22-foot giraffe, there's nothing really in the covenants that tell you you can't. There's nothing there you say you can, but
Right.
you also can't. So it's very hard to defend one's point against the covenants we have currently because it's not very well written.
Exactly,
Everyone pokes
which
holes
is
in it.
why the covenants need to be redone and restructured so that they are firm, concrete, bouldered granite foundation on which they can be pillared. I don't know how many rock formations I can talk
You were
about
losing me there for a
living in
second.
Jefferson County. They cannot be
Yeah.
limestone, okay?
Yeah.
Get it?
No, you're absolutely right.
Okay? They
So I
have
think
to
we-
be 10-foot pillars.
I think we clarified that one, correct? You good?
You have to have your covenants before you do your bylaws.
According to Robert's rules, the first thing an organization does is their bylaws, because the bylaws outline the membership and outlines what the qualifications for membership are. It outlines your board of directors, how the voting rights work, all of the functions of that, and then it goes into some high level of your finances, and from there, you then make your restrictions. And Dave, didn't the lawyer tell you at one point in time that, you know, the covenant is never going to be every last line item detail. It is the structure of the intent for this item, and the rules fill in the definitions of, you know, it can be 30 by 40. It can That's not.
So an example of that is you gotta have a 1,500 square foot home, and then a rule or an ACC guideline may say, well, you can have green gutters and pink driveways and a hole in your roof or whatever. So the rules emphasize or strengthen the covenant, is basically how it works.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Kathy just because she got her hand up first.
Respectfully, what you said, but your first sentence was the beginning or the starting of, what was your first sentence was the beginning or the starting of an organization. This is not the beginning of the organization. This is 30 years past the organization. Okay? This is the cleansing of, this is the continuation. We're way past that. We're way past. Okay? We know the problems of the beginning. We're continuing, we know it's rooted. So the bylaws are there. The bylaws that they started are there. We need to cleanse and we need to move forward.
But they can also
Thank
be
you.
changed. They can also be changed.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, I can't read
So,
that.
Sandy McCabe here, so if it helps anybody, the covenants to me are like the Constitution. It is a big structure, it's an outline, it's a format, but the rules are the congressional laws that kind of fill in. The Constitution is the skeleton, and that would be the covenant, but the rules then are the flesh and blood that fill that in, if that helps anybody who's struggling.
You're right.
The covenant shouldn't be so detailed, like the Constitution
Right.
is not detailed, but that's where the rules come in, if that helps
Great.
anybody understand.
I do have a suggestion for a ballot item for the bylaws. Currently, the bylaws limit the resumes of those individuals who would like to be elected on the board of directors to 75 words. And in my experience,
I'm all for that one.
and in helping other people submit their resume, it's extremely difficult to capture someone's experience and qualifications in 75 words. Because then you also don't know, does that include their name? If they break down their experience in different sections, like their goals for the board, is that included in the 75 words? So
Their name isn't, the rest is.
their name isn't, but the rest is. Okay, so those of you out there that currently don't put section headings on them.
Okay.
So I would recommend that this be changed in some manner to allow for actual credentials and experiences to be listed on resumes.
So going from the top again, we addressed the first one, I believe. The next one is no property owner
Yes.
employed in the office. And that is a covenant. Is that?
No, well, we don't.
You don't know?
Okay, this for covenant 4B is the wording for this first one.
Okay.
This is, I'm not sure, it could be put in the covenant, it's not currently. The black dot is other, because Dave mentioned that's really other things.
Is anyone concerned about that? Just because it's here, let's get a discussion. Throw out your thought, yeah, that bothers me, oh, I'm good with it.
Which one?
Thoughts. That a property owner should not be employed in the Raintree office, right? Is that the right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so, Tim, do you comment?
I don't necessarily have a comment, but I don't think the property owner should be
Okay.
dealing with other property owners' private information.
Okay. Nick, you had a comment?
So the intent, when this came through in the discussion about the ballot item previously, was to garnish the experience and the workforce of the people within our gates. So the main thing is, for what we can afford to put in the office and the salary range that we have here, it would be a phenomenal place to put someone with a retired administration background or someone that's done this in the past. We don't want to, right off the bat, write off all those people and all their experience and not be able to weigh that to help us in the office. So the intent was to kind of keep that open-minded and do it on a case-by-case basis versus just completely shutting that door on all that experience within our gates.
Okay.
And
Dave,
don't
is
you
it-
all, even as board members, don't you all have a confidentiality agreement that you sign?
We do recently.
Yes, and
Oh,
so
we
why
always
can't that apply to your office staff? That way you would have rules, you know, you would have
Like an
a
NDA.
written document to justify.
Prosecution if it got.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Okay, Dave?
Because it's, like you said,
Expand
afford-
on,
big bucks.
to expand on Nick's definition, I don't disagree with what he's saying, and I think it's probably the smart thing to do, especially with the office, but we have taken steps to kind of take a lot of that to city and village. But what I want to say is there are a lot of great resources in here that they won't necessarily be in the office, but they could be vendors supplying, paint or construction or IT work. So I want to be careful that we don't include just any possible person that walks through that door, because that is where we really can see a benefit, to get a retired person or somebody that owns a company in here that would give Raintree a benefit of a break financially, because that they're not in the office technically.
Right, so if I understood the concern was, but this person is in the office and has access to resident files, and they shouldn't, if that's what I understood.
Not if they sign a confidentiality agreement.
Okay.
But a solution would be that.
Kathy first and then Karen.
Okay. I moved into Raintree in, just shortly before 9/11. Previous to that, I worked for 20 years as a pharmacy tech. I'm very familiar with the HIPAA law. In my years of working as a pharmacy tech, especially my past, the last 5 years, from 2000 to 2005, it came to my attention that I was filling prescriptions for my neighbors. And so I knew the medications that my neighbors were working, some of my neighbors were on. And so I kept that information confidential. I was approached, I left the pharmacy in 2003 and attended Jefferson College in office preparation and graduated in 2006. I was approached in 2005 that when I graduated in 2006, I would be offered the office position here, and I turned it down because I knew that there was a very, very large conflict of interest in knowing about my neighbors.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Karen, is your comment
My
related to
comment,
this?
well, my comment was, if we're going to city and whatever it is.
Village.
City and village. That's the confidential stuff, really. I don't know, I mean, if my neighbor knows I have a vote sticker, okay.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't see that we need to change who can work in the office. If we've got people that are qualified, that'll do it for the amount that we're gonna pay them,
Go far.
I'm sorry. I think that, I like that it's going off-site in some of the financial stuff. And maybe I'm naive that I don't think that anybody cares if I have a golf cart. I mean,
Oh, darn it.
Okay, good.
mine's the one with the Jayhawk in the front.
And mine's the green and yellow one. Derek, is your comment related to this topic?
It is, it's from online. It says the current office has released my personal info to neighbors and myself to neighbors on 2 separate incidents, one in a social setting, so there definitely is a conflict of interest.
Then I would recommend as a fellow property owner that they file a complaint with the office. Or maybe not the office, but directly to the board.
Okay.
Employees could be censured.
And they can also be fired.
Yes.
Warranted.
All right, so have we covered that line item sufficiently?
Well, they'd have to be counseled several times before they could be fired.
I would leave that to the board to handle.
I have a question.
All right, next.
Related to this or?
Yeah, kind of related to this. If that stuff is all going to
City and Village.
City and Village, why can't everything go to City and Village and then mail you out the
Because
stickers and text?
we're gonna be paying for those fees.
Well, we're trying that, right? We
Well,
tried that idea.
I was just wondering if it would be cheaper because wasn't there a significant savings to outsourcing this?
Yes.
The hard part is to
Our
verify the
postage was 60
documentation
cents a
necessary.
person.
One at a
So-
time. Nick?
To verify the documentation. So if you, and then we kind of brought that idea up too, is that we want to try to get it as soup to nuts as humanly possible and automate this process the best way we know how, for accuracy, but for ease of access for people and employees. If we do that, the hard part is getting a third-party service to verify our documents. So in order to get a boat sticker, you have to show your registration, and, you know, things like that. That's the only hang-up. And then if you mail the stickers, are they actually going to you? Did you give them to somebody else? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
It makes it a little bit more difficult. So that's a great idea, and going forward, we're all ears, but from,
It would be similar though to using, like whenever I paid my car tags this last time, I did it all on Missouri Department of Revenue site, and that was my thought process.
yes. Yeah, we definitely want to get there. It's just trying to figure out a way to do that. We're 100% all ears.
Well, and there's some older people in here, like I was at a Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking like in their 80s that do not have computers, come up here and pay cash and haven't read their newsletter yet.
Okay, can I
and it's all
interrupt?
forward.
Thank you for saying that. Bring that up to the open forum at the next board meeting, because now we're off topic of ballot items. But Eric,
That's okay, John.
Derek, you have one?
Yeah, it's still on the same topic. Someone says the office will still know financials, as the office will need to know who has paid in order to assist the issuing of current stickers, etc. So their argument is that the office still needs to know financials, and it's still a conflict of interest because they have to be able to verify who's paid and who hasn't.
Okay.
Won't everybody know apparently that they haven't paid if they don't have stickers?
Well, won't City and Village send over a list?
I think that's what this person's saying.
Say,
is that-
paid. Well, they're paid. Who cares?
Well, I think
Well,
they're
they're-
more
what's-
worried about who hasn't
The
paid.
person is saying is the office will still have access to that data.
Except that nobody in their right mind would come up here to buy a sticker if they hadn't paid their assessment.
Okay, we are
Right
moving
mind,
on.
keyword.
We are moving on.
Jefferson County.
2 pets only.
That was me.
Do you want to explain? Your-
So my rationale behind that is, I will just go ahead and admit it, in my household, my residence, we have 2 dogs, we have a bird, and we have a cat. Fine.
Guilty.
I'm on the rules committee. just read it.
Guilty.
But my thought process is, what about those individuals that have koi ponds and they have multiple fish in their koi pond? They're pets.
No.
It says petable
not
pets
really.
in the.
The kind that you walk down the street and that you don't pick up their poop after.
2 dogs, 1
So-
rabbit, 1 hedgehog.
So Kathy, my point is, the way that it's currently written
Right.
is not very clear.
But it should also state that if you're going to be a breeder or running a kennel, you better have the proper, then you're getting into licensing and,
Well, then
And
it becomes a business
maybe
in
there
your
needs to
home.
be a restriction that
yeah,
breeding
not
would
more
be
than
allowed.
4 dogs are, not more than 3 indoor cats or
4
whatever.
cats inside, 4 cats outside.
Okay, does anybody else have a comment about the pets?
7
Okay, so maybe not the
I'll
koi
just
pond,
say,
but what if
when
we
I
have a
lived
fish tank with big fish? Those are
When I
pets.
lived in St. Peters, one of the rules was the number of dogs you can have is the number of bedrooms that you have.
Is the number of what?
Bedrooms that you have. So it was kind of, so it kept the pet, at least that kind of a pet, in line with the number
size of the
of
home.
people that live there to take care of it.
Okay, interesting. All right.
So that's kind of my thought process there, is that it could use some
Clarification.
clarification. As long as I'm
Has to
still
be
allowed to
sweet.
have my 2 dogs, my father's bird and my father's cat while he's still alive.
All right, we all ready to move on?
No farm animals.
We don't care how many.
You're good.
Okay, so we're moving on.
So I think, John, you had gotten this one via email. Basically, if I'm understanding it, they want those properties that are currently deeded to a trust, to have the beneficiaries of that trust have the same access to the amenities?
No, they don't get it till we die.
Hold on.
Let me explain a trust, because this got Raintree in major problems. There was a company in North or South Carolina, LLC, that put everything in a trust and had like 250 lots in here. You absolutely do not want that to happen, because then you'll have the Wild West out here and you won't know who they are other than the name on a deed or a trust. So I'm just giving you my opinion and what we've witnessed in the past.
Jethro.
Fine, you know what? The property owner is the property owner, the beneficiary gets
It after they're dead.
once the property owner is dead. And I don't see any difference with that. You know, they don't get the amenity, they don't get the house until the property owner is
They
dead.
don't get your checking account,
They don't get the checking account, they don't get.
They don't care about the house and the lot.
That's my thing, otherwise, I'm like Dave, I just feel like it's opening, it would just open it up to too much, and I'm one of those that I kind of like the security, the way Raintree goes with security, so.
And that would be the underlying reason, I would assume. We live in a gated community for a reason, right? So we want to keep people that shouldn't be in here out, and those that should be in here in. And right now, we know they are the property owners, the deed owners, and their guests, not their heritage. From there. Okay.
She just stepped out, so we're gonna skip camping in the backyard until Desiree comes back. Kathy, I think this was yours, the
Yeah.
wording on the sticker.
Right, because when we first moved here, we had to have the notorious green sticker in the right lower part of your windshield. And that was, and we were given that when we moved in. And that designated you as a property owner. I understand we've gotten bigger now and better. So if there's going to be clarification for stickers, and I hate to say that you would have to have two colors, but if those people who want to have the beach access, then give them a sticker that they buy every year. Property owners who don't want beach access, give them the damn green sticker like we had before. And I know it would be a pain in the ass.
Just let me ask one question. What does that buy us?
Security.
How?
Don't you have to, when you get your sticker, don't you have to prove that this is
That you're
your car
property?
title to you, and you give your license
Okay.
plates?
Let me answer that question. About 30% of the people got stickers in the past in here. More than 70%, what was it, John? 71% of the people don't buy stickers for their cars today.
Mm-hmm.
Or they buy them and they don't put them on. I understand.
My wife made a good point about that too, and she says that if you see a car slow rolling past your house when your kids are outside, when you see that little orange sticker, it does give you a little sense of, oh, sorry.
Absolutely.
And you start waving at them versus if they don't have a sticker, you're kind of like, hey, what are you doing in here?
Not disagreeing with that point of it, but what I'm talking about is unenforceable.
Then
Unless
maybe-
they're driving by your house slow with two grandkids or kids out front. Then it's, somebody's taking a picture, what the hell's going on here? But it's just, until we come up with a better way of these gates, it's not enforceable for people not to buy a sticker.
Maybe it's not, maybe it doesn't have to be enforceable, maybe we just give it free. And then that way it gives that peace of mind when you pay your dues. Yeah, pay your assessments, you get, just a normal 3-cent decal that you can just kind of throw on your window. It's kind of like not tied to anything, just kind of, I pay my dues on it.
Well, when we moved in, you
Yeah.
just got the ugly green sticker, it
Color
was
of
just
your
the green
choosing.
Raintree, it was just the Raintree sticker on a white decal. You put it on the opposite windshield, and you knew that that person belonged here. You knew that if you saw a car parked on the street with no sticker, then you should call the office, especially if it's there 3 or 4 days, Because it could be a vehicle that was stolen and abandoned in here, could be anything. So that's what I'm saying.
I agree.
And if you want to buy a sticker so that you can have access to the beach, so you have the green sticker and you have the yearly sticker that you peel off and torture yourself with every year, you know? Otherwise, you just leave the green sticker on and don't worry about it.
So that would be a potential ballot item that says that the covenant should be changed, that everyone that,
I think it is in the covenant, that everyone
So
has
it
a
would be
sticker.
to take out that excerpt that says
We'd have to.
cars,
But
trucks, I don't need it.
my point isn't discrediting anything you guys are saying. If everybody thought you had to have a sticker to drive in here, and 70% of the people aren't doing it, and now we're gonna give them to you, you know where those stickers are
But
gonna
are they
end
not
up?
doing it because they had to pay for it?
$2?
I'm telling you where we live.
all right, so Kathy
Sometimes
gets her
because
hand
we
up.
can't, we forget to go to the office.
Be very patient, please.
I mean, that's what I would like to see. Did it change when we started charging $2 for a sticker?
No, it didn't happen a long time ago. Okay, Kathy behind you has a comment.
Okay, honestly, I'll tell you, I'm one of the 70%. And I drove, when we were obligated to have stickers and when the guard shack was manned, I paid to have the sticker and I put the sticker on. And I drove all the way down to 11th and Washington with the sticker on. And the ignorance and the disrespect that I received in Jefferson County from drivers when I had that Raintree sticker on my car was so intolerable that by the time summer, I would say 4th of July, I was ready to scrape the sticker off.
Okay, we need to move on because we have quite a few. So we're saying that this one is a valid thing to write up as a ballot, potential ballot item, correct? That's what I'm
Is
getting
that in
at.
the covenant somewhere?
It's in the covenants, yeah.
Where in the covenants are you saying it says you have to have a sticker? Because section 3I, I think, says
you do not.
accepting passenger cars, pickup trucks, minivans, SUVs, etc. So it exempts you from having to have a car. So
1J was brought up to me and I was
Where is
like, 1J.
1J.
Well, I think
That's
what we're saying is
restrictions.
we need to change it to make it be
Exactly.
enforceable, right?
Right, that's what I hear her idea. But you would like to see a ballot item that says everyone shall.
I'm agreeing with her because she's got me almost in tears over here.
However,
Yeah.
1J
The loophole in
says
that
it's,
is.
Yeah, you have to have one for every car that you have, that you own.
Why?
yes.
The rules
Why?
manual supports
So that
Why
the other.
can't
to show that you belong.
One at a time, please.
But it contradicts
we? To what purpose?
Well, I think it provides the board the leeway to mandate a sticker for vehicles if the board chooses
So
to do
let's
so.
bring that up here. So the covenants, they basically say both ways. So it says, on 2I, it says that you should have the identification sticker. And then it says, as dictated by the rules manual. And the rules manual say that you don't have to have the sticker. So, there's a clear, how we want to word that or change that, I don't know, but there's definitely a place in their place.
Or put 1J up there with it if you would please, because those are the two sections that it pertains to.
And Nick, what was the other paragraph you just quoted that says something about it?
1J and what was the other one?
2I.
3A and 1J, you got it.
Oh, 2, I thought you said 2I.
He might have said 2, but it's 1.
I'm just lost there.
Yeah, just
I
give
can
them,
say anything, it's not right.
just give them one generic identifying sticker that has to be on the car. Don't charge them for it, one, like we used to have in the very beginning.
Okay, thank you for that, Kathy.
I have a party at my house. Okay, I have 3 vehicles in the driveway. Okay, none of them have stickers, I have three vehicles.
You'll have to get gas
I
passes.
have, please Why do I have to get guest passes?
Because it's written in the newsletter.
Why do I have
No,
to
that's
get?
for
Why is
access
it?
to the beach.
No,
The
it
beach,
isn't.
for the beach, yeah.
Okay,
They're
can I
in my
stop
house.
this, Kathy? I think she wants to make potentially you're gonna make a ballot item that says, please go back to that idea that we should all be stickered, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna say, cool, do that.
Yeah,
And so I don't know unless you have anything to add
she's
to
talking
it.
about if she has guests.
Yeah, but that's a whole other thing, than your ballot item potential, correct? Okay, are you good with that? That she has an item that she wants to put as a ballot item, we're like, yeah, go for it. All right?
Do I not have an opinion?
But you're talking about guests now, I thought.
No, actually I wasn't.
Okay.
I'm talking, if you don't want to listen, that's fine.
I don't mean
I'll
that,
stop.
it's just that
I'm
we are
done.
running out of time.
I'm done, go ahead, I'm done. I get it,
No, Kathy.
No, I get
we
it.
Appreciate your input.
I get it.
Okay.
I'm done.
Desiree,
I get
talk
it,
about camping in the backyard.
I get it.
Can we skip?
I'm done.
Sure. We're gonna skip that, signage in front of the lot or home.
Well, I only mentioned it because it seems like I see a lot of signs that are on trees, like no littering,
Trespassing
no
or no-
trespassing, whatever, that I don't see as being really bad. I don't have a problem with not having a lot of signs in here. It just seems to me that the wording, no, is kind of firm. And in fact, at one point, I owned a lot that we had a lawsuit on. The neighbor was occupying part of my property that I bought, and we put up no trespassing signs along the side so they would stay off our lot. And we were going to be sanctioned by Raintree for having no trespassing signs lined up along the lot, telling our neighbor that we were suing to stay off our property. And so we had to take all the signs down.
Oh my God.
And I just think that the wording, no signs, is inappropriate.
Okay, so would it be correct in saying you want to add allowing,
Well, the real estate signs, I have no problem with, I think that's there, but I mean, Will Build has signs on their houses that they're building, I don't have a problem with that.
How about these contractors who come in here?
Well, whatever, I personally,
They put a sign
I
up
like
for 2
to
weeks.
see the signs, because when we were building a house, we were going around asking all these contractors, what do you do? And we were getting bids from them, so, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, but a person who comes in here and does a driveway, puts a sign up there.
Right,
When it's done, they leave that sign up there for weeks at a time.
right,
That's what we don't want.
right,
that would be
well,
up to the property?
maybe it
owners.
should only be allowed for a certain amount of time or not allowed at all. I really don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying,
Right.
I see a lot of signs that it's not being, enforced anyway, so.
Well, we have some people that have advertising the business in the window, in your window.
Kathy had that sign at your yard.
Yeah, from the guy that fixed our chimney.
I took it, brought it up here.
I just put the sign right in your own window.
I called them up, and she called me a liar.
Advertising the business in your home.
The lady, she
is
said-
Not allowed.
She said,
Kind of
who are you? I mean,
leads to the next one.
why are you saying this? I said, call the
Yeah, we
office.
have the business and then
Yes.
the.
Any other comments on the signage?
No.
Any? No. I
It's
don't
not a
mind
big
lighting.
deal, I just saw it in here, and so I thought I'd mention it.
Tom?
Just one thing that I'm noticing is that, somebody mentioned political signs. They're
Yeah.
not mentioned in this paragraph at all.
Well, it says no signs of any nature.
And then right after that says, in addition to identifying signs, real estate signs shall be permitted to be placed, blah, blah, blah. So that's an exception. That was voted on, I remember.
Yeah, I remember
It's the
that.
law.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say that they did add
Is
that.
it
It's
like
the law.
Federal
Political
law?
signs
It's
are,
a law.
It's a
And
government.
I'm just making a point, I'm not
Oh, yeah.
saying
that
that.
it needs to be
By
added.
God, by God, I do not want to see 1,000 political signs in here.
Vote for Dave.
For, yeah.
For
You know,
what?
But there's going to be that pushback about that someday. We're going to have to address it because I don't know how you allow real estate signs and not somebody put a sign in the yard saying, you know, vote for Dick.
But we have it in rules, don't we? Political science, because it was called to our attention a few
You
years
have to
ago.
allow.
We
Yes,
had
it
to
was.
allow
It's
it.
not in
But we didn't
Okay, so,
advertise it.
so,
Yeah, that's,
okay,
I was
I'm
on
just,
board when
just,
they-
just a.
One at
make
a
a
time,
point.
please, one at a time. Who's got the floor?
As far as I know, the law says you can put a political, you can't mess with a political sign.
No, it's
We're
government.
good there. Any other comments about that, right, are we moving on? Derek, we're good on?
Yeah, I missed with a comment from somebody about, they asked, does the POA have any obligation that vehicles are insured? If so, then stickers are needed so the office can verify insurance liability. So do we have to, as a homeowner or property owner association,
There
do we
is-
have to make sure everyone's insured?
There is a covenant that talks about vehicles have to be licensed. If they're unlicensed, they need to be parked in your garage.
I thought I showed proof of insurance.
Does
when I
the
come up.
POA have any obligation?
Yeah.
So I think the question is, is the POA obligated to make sure the residents are insured? If so, then he's saying stickers are needed to.
Only for golf carts, right?
Boats.
Thank you for coming.
But I've had to show proof of insurance for my, when I
Yes,
get it.
anybody who's getting a car sticker has to show
Yeah.
proof of insurance, and that's how we've done it. But is it required by the covenants?
Right,
We were
is the
trying to
POA
interpret the
obligated?
covenants that say we have to meet, where the wording is something about meet state,
Specifications or whatever.
yeah, something like that, and so we said, okay, we should require insurance then.
So the problem with that is we are meeting the state requirements that we're following, that the state has taken care of, making sure they're inspected and insured. We shouldn't have to recreate the wheel
Right.
to make that happen. It's not our responsibility to make sure Missouri or whatever state has a license plate on it and insurance. That's on the state of Missouri, not us.
Because we're private.
Right, well, no, just because that's the state of Missouri's
Right,
requirements.
right. But,
But if they're not licensed,
When we asked
then
them
they're
this
not.
last year, our attorney said, by the covenants, the golf cart is the one that we absolutely have to do. The car, no. The,
Boats on there.
the boat, he said the boat's not written the same way as the golf cart, so we didn't need
It says
to
it
check
right
the
here.
insurance, but the registration, you do the same as the car.
It says all watercraft described in this section must be covered by a liability insurance policy yearly, and said policy must be presented at time of purchasing the watercraft sticker.
But that's not mandated by the state, is what you're saying.
It's in the company.
He said it was, maybe it was the boat, not the golf cart.
are we,
No, I thought it was the golf cart.
what kind, this just brought up another thing, only because I've seen some younger kids, and you know they haven't taken the course to have the certification to drive the boat. But yet, that's a Missouri water safety law that anyone born after a certain year has to take the course and carry that card if they're driving the boat. That I know. Now, are we doing anything for that? And then what's Raintree's liability if we haven't checked that? Like when the parents come in to register their boat, they almost have to, you almost have to ask them, do you have children under, over this age? And have they taken the course and make them sign some kind of a
We
waiver?
do that though, don't we? I
It's
think
on
we
the,
do all that.
when you get your boat
Right,
sticker.
but you're
it's-
not asking if they have the card. And you're not, just like you have to copy our insurance information for the vehicle, how can you give them a boat sticker if they have children who are over 16 but under whatever with that yearly age?
But the
You
form
almost-
The form
you
you
al-
sign off on, they're acknowledging that they understand and will comply by that rule.
Then you know they don't.
Well, but it falls back
But
on
it
the owner of the
yeah, it
boat.
goes to them because they
So
signed
if the owner
it.
of the boat gets, we had a situation last year where, it was a kid that fell into this. If you remember on social media, they ran the geese or whatever in the lake. Well, they come forth and took care of everything, but, it falls on the owner. I mean, pretty
Okay,
much.
so we are off track, and we do have a process in place, is what I'm understanding, to accommodate what you're suggesting. And
Thank
we
you.
covered, the commenter online's, we covered it, right, Derek?
Yeah, someone else had made a comment that if the roads are private, then they think that we would be liable. So, just a comment.
All right.
Next is the, Linda commented on the no business, says verification.
Because in the covenants, under 1A, restrictions relating to the use of lots, it says, all lots in the subdivision shall be used for residence purposes only, and no business of any nature shall be permitted, maintained, or conducted thereon. And I know quite a few people, including myself, who operate a business out of my home, many of us do.
Censure.
As in home office,
Home
not,
office, but they're online businesses for me.
online.
Right, but they're not coming
Address
to your
their-
house.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dave's got his hand
That's
up.
the big question, because I got thing for this when I first started my business. As long as you don't have employees or customers come to your home, then typically the cities will let you do that.
And you're not having deliveries and all that kind of stuff, and you're not
Excessive park or storage.
disrupting the streets and all that.
So I guess it would be up to me to ask for a valid item change that clarifies some
Well,
of what was
Laura's
just
got her
described.
hand up.
So, I would like it, and I can work with you and anybody else who has comments, to allow, because Dave, you mentioned because you don't have clients coming to your house. I would like it to be worded to allow for a home daycare that is open to Raintree property owners only, to allow their children to go to another homeowner's home if they are licensed properly, to allow them to have the home daycare in their homes. Because I know that property owners could benefit from having that inside of subdivision.
I don't disagree with you. I think that's a good scenario,
License,
but
insurance, all the things that would be
I
required.
think we need to go down a different path for the ballot item, because here we are again. You can't have a home business except. So I think maybe make the covenant a different verbiage that doesn't have the word except, or, I don't know, I don't disagree with you. Anybody that has a home business within Raintree that patronizes the people within here, I think should be valid, and is like a business like yourself. I don't know, as long as you don't have cars showing up, although
I
you're
think it's
dropping.
car, storage, customers, employees.
Well, daycare would be cars.
Yeah,
But
well, I
if they
know,
were
that's
only
what I'm.
But
open to
for
Raintree
drop-off,
residents,
pickup,
she said, then it would be.
but limited
But then you can
it
have
to
kids
just
outside.
Raintree.
Plus
But
the noise
the
pollution.
home daycares are limited to how many they can have of
Child
certain
labor.
ages.
How is that different though than someone that cuts hair and has Raintree people as their clients?
Very valid. I
There's
would,
people in here that do
I would
that.
say the
Well,
same
To that
type of
point, you're
restrictions.
actually gonna park a car and stay for an hour, or 10 minutes in my case, but
Where you're gonna have people, a whole line of
I
people.
don't know, it's a
dropping off
good
at the
debate
same
though. I
time.
mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
We've
It's,
really struggled with this exact provision in the
A long
covenants
time.
before. This isn't the first time this has come up as a question, but we haven't come up with a good proposed solution for what to put in the covenants. And I think there are lots of good ideas
Right.
about what it could be, but we have to figure out a structure for it.
Could it be accommodated in our rules section? You know, make it more
Generic.
generic here.
Flexible.
And so that, see the rules, see what the rules
How about
section
case by
is.
case?
So then the rules can change as.
Well, and that would, and falling right in line with what's happened over the last 15 years about how businesses can easily be run out of a home now where.
Because of
15 years
COVID.
ago, yeah, well, even 15 years, where we're talking about, every business doesn't have to have tree cutting trucks out in front of your house or stored or whatever, so.
So
Well,
the
maybe
rules
you
could
eliminate
really-
the covenant and address it in rules,
Right.
and say what is allowed and what isn't.
And Tim had.
Well, and that's what I was saying. So basically, the covenant would be, you can run a business from your home, then you'd have to go to the rules, which would break it all down to
All of
what would be allowed.
Yeah.
Notice how I didn't mention real estate businesses but for Raintree purposes only.
And I
I
think,
already censored.
I think everybody has to say to themselves, okay, if this was next to my home,
There you go.
how would I feel?
Well, this is Jefferson County, so we gotta be real careful with that.
So to me, just, it
Your
sounds
short
like.
timer over there.
Hey, I see some stuff.
To me, it sounds like at least the individuals in this room, they're open to putting it out there to the rest of the community to kind of vote on it with that.
I would make
Rewording.
one suggestion to that though, is, we talked before about how the covenant is just a skeleton, okay? And you can't include such detail. This is one thing where it should probably include some details, where you can have a home visit, but yeah, it needs to be, okay by, I don't know, the ACC, let's say. But in the covenant itself, I would say it probably needs to make a statement about, like Dick said, storage, materials,
Put some
just the
restrictions.
general
Put those restrictions.
maintenance and upkeep of
Traffic.
that. Yeah, I mean, there's traffic too, but I think you would need to go a little bit more specific on that covenant.
Which is the opposite of what
So,
was just previously said. So there's, open for.
Well, we've had a landscaping company that stored material.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
A whole
got
lot
dump
are
trucks in here.
dedicated to it.
So we've
Well, I mean,
covered
trucks,
that one really
vehicles are
well.
one thing.
Yeah.
And so we have some ideas and solutions for that. And the next one is?
Time limit on construction. I think
Oh, that was me. I don't, it says 90 days, and when we were building our house, we didn't have any trouble getting the period of time extended. So maybe there is a rule that addresses that I wasn't aware
It's
of.
not really a rule, it's just we're very sympathetic to the people that are
Right.
building homes in here. What's the 90 days for?
It's
It's
9 months.
9
9
I
months.
thought it was 12 months.
No, I saw something here saying
It's
90
nine,
days.
it's 9 months,
Yeah.
from start to finish. And in that situation, the ACC is super willing to help in those situations.
Right.
And we just need to know that you're progressing at it. If there's an issue, what's the issue, and try to keep the standard up there as long as possible.
Right, well, I know because I came up here and asked, and they extended it for 3 months, and then there was some conversation where we did get emails going back and forth that said, well, you shouldn't have extended for 3 months, you should have only done it for 30 days, and then ask for it again, and ask for it again, which I think is kind of stupid.
That regime's gone.
So then, that's probably not needed.
Don't worry about it.
It could be that one guy that, went 10 years or something like that?
Well, I mean, we were building it ourselves rather than
By the
contract.
No, the one over down here.
And you probably won't see COVID and supply chain
Next to
issues.
Rawls'
Please,
house.
hopefully no.
Like we did, so.
So maybe that one would just require an additional word.
Well, maybe it would just say, except as listed in the rules or whatever.
At the discretion of the ACC?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the discretion of the ACC, or extensions are
And so
granted
then
through
we-
ACC.
I think we skipped one.
And that's 2M.
I think we skipped one.
We
The
skipped,
homeowner company, yes. I think we jumped from businesses to.
we did skip one, and we also skipped the camping in the backyard. You're good with that? Okay. Okay, homeowner accompanying guests and amenities. Was that?
That was, online.
Online there, did they?
Yeah, that's a huge one. Because somebody could bring in a dozen guests and send them down to the beach.
And that's removing homeowner.
And that's something that we're trying to work very hard to avoid. We're trying to keep property owners responsible for their guests. And the property owners can phone in their guests, then we have no control at all.
Can we make them buy armbands for the day?
Well,
for $2.
Yeah. You know, the kind that they put on you at the hospital that you can't take off without cutting off, so.
they'd have to come up here to put them on then.
Which wouldn't work, because they're not open.
Yeah, the hours of the office.
My mother's condo, she would get, if we were coming out, she would get our hands for everybody, and then, but she put them on, and we didn't.
But it would have the property owner's name, it would have the property owner's name on that armband with the property owner's phone number. And I understand that sometimes property owners cannot be with their guests, that they drop them off. But if they're unruly, you got the property owner's
So-
name and phone number on that armband that they can't take off.
How do we handle Saturday afternoon, all day Sunday, and all
One at
day?
a time, please, one at a
The
time.
property owner's gotta buy them in advance for their guests.
On their guests.
And they can put them on their guests, but it's like our window stickers. Or when you go to the hospital and you get checked in, you put that on, that it can't come off.
So I don't disagree with you, Kathy,
But
but
some-
this is
some
kind
kind
of
of an-
similar to getting armbands as getting gate codes and giving it to everybody at the high school.
Yeah, well,
I'm
that
just
was
being
a
devil's
problem.
advocate
No, you
here.
just get it when they're coming out.
You just get it when they're coming out. It's dated. It's dated. There's a date, the property owner's name, telephone number, and the date it's allowed for. And when Dave, you've gone to the hospital or urgent care, when they put that
I
little...
beg your pardon, I'm a very healthy young man.
When they put that little band on you and you gotta cut it off. You can't take it off.
I'm
We have
just,
another comment, Derek?
Yeah, same person. They said that they have adult children that are as responsible as they are, and if they have tags and a legitimate parking pass, it should be okay. No armband needed because we are adults.
Okay, I think I can answer their question there with,
Do they drink? That's
give me
all
a
you have
moment
to
to
say.
find it.
wasn't that a prereq for Raintree?
Jerry Jean?
My thought on this is that if you don't live in Raintree and you are not with a Raintree homeowner or a property owner, you don't belong in Raintree.
Right.
I
But Jerry
wouldn't-
Jean, there are plenty of people who will drive their adult kids down to the beach and drop them off and leave them. I used to do beach patrol with Gail and a couple of other people when Sam Rawls was in charge. Remember, Deb? We had our little shirts and everything. And there are plenty of people at the beach that don't belong there.
I understand, but that's just my opinion. If you don't live here,
But try to remove them and see what happens.
well, I'm
Right,
just
so
saying,
I
that's my
understand.
thought.
The covenant says, you know, you need to be with, I think it says.
It does say
the
you're
supposed
supposed
to
to
be
be
there, right, the deeded owner to be down there. And you're suggesting that it's happening all the time, why is it's not enforceable? And you're
It isn't,
suggesting.
because I'm suggesting that
An
you
armband
have,
could
you
be
have to
a
have the
step in the right
armband
direction.
identifying
Right.
who the property owner is.
Then the property owner should be with that guest.
Right, but if they have an armband, you already know who the property owner is, because Jerry Jean, if they don't have the armband, and they can say, oh, well, I'm with him, or I'm with him,
I
or whatever.
understand that, but
And
the
property
states that-
owner is responsible for any damage
I
or
know.
whatever.
I'm in a bad spot over here.
I know, but Candy
So
states in
that's
the
a difference
covenants
of
that he's
opinion here.
supposed to be.
It's a difference of opinion, we're gonna let it ride.
No, it
because-
states that the property owner is supposed to be with the guest.
Sure, and she's asked, somebody asked that could that be changed?
Yeah.
And that's this whole conversation here,
And-
and Laura has new information.
Can I, this is going directly to the person that made that last comment about their adult children, assuming that those adult children live in Raintree because they have the proper parking permit requirements. Is that,
No, the kids do not, it sounds like on here that the kids do not live in Raintree.
okay, well, for those who have situations like mine, I have an adult child that lives with me, according to covenant 3A, number 1, it says owners' rights to use common areas. Each owner in good standing shall have a non-exclusive right, license and easement together with all other owners and their respective families to use the common ground of the subdivision, including the roads, lakes, beaches, and all other common areas and facilities of the subdivision. So to me, that means my adult son can be down at the beach without me being there.
And that's not what I'm disputing, because
I
my
thought that was gonna
granddaughter lived
answer
with
his
me for
question.
3 years, and she was 28 and was at the beach, but she lived with us. I'm talking about the people who have their families out on the weekend, and the adult kids, like Nick, you know. If you were my kid, come down, they say, well, we're gonna go run down to the beach for a while, we're gonna swim. Okay, fine. And I would say, sure, go on and go, because I've had cancer, I'm not supposed to be in the sun. So I will let them go.
Sure.
But my kids, when I say, you can't do this, you can't, oh, Mom, you know, and they're adults.
Tim, do you have any comments, because you're Lakes and Beaches, how does this enforce down there with security?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is, even with wristband, if you think that they're not gonna have a knife or scissors or something, cut it off, once they got down there, they're gonna do that. For security or a board member to go up to someone,
But then
hey,
if
can I
they're
see-
cut off,
can I
then
see-"
they're gone.
But you don't know. We don't know every property owner's guests that are down there, you know, either. I mean, I'm gonna tell you now, there's nothing that is perfect, and I already know.
And I
there's-
understand that. I did Lakes and Beaches patrol for a long time,
But even
before you
with-
were born, probably.
But even with the wristbands, if you go up to them and say, hey, who are you with, can I see your wristband? They're not gonna show you.
And if you say, who are you with, they're gonna point to this one or that one. They're not gonna tell you.
I know how old Tim is. Unless you're 100, he was
I'm
born.
73.
Okay, you're not 100.
But it's, I mean, and it's, yeah, it's, I mean, it's gonna be.
It's difficult,
It
I
is
understand.
difficult. So it's a process that probably is, I don't know, right now, you have to purchase the day passes for them to be able to go down there.
Which I think is
If-
excellent,
Oh.
but
If-
are
if-
they not gonna copy them or pass them on to somebody else?
Well, because they're gonna be colored, they're only dated for that day. The
And are they
property-
gonna carry them
the-
on their possession?
Well, no, it goes in the vehicle.
Okay.
You really can't know everybody that's down on the beach.
I know.
Or not.
Baywatch, dude. Baywatch.
Yeah.
But now.
It is very difficult. I mean, you said you've done it, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it's just,
it's much worse than when we did it, remember?
So it can be included as a potential ballot item to change that. Tom, you have a comment?
But
Well,
like
the way I'm
Tim
reading
said,
it is that
They can't,
the
they will
the
cut
family of a property owner, whether they live here or not, can use the beach. Right?
No,
What I
that's
said
further
stated,
defined in
and
rules.
their respective
The
families.
covenants are all further defined by rules,
And
and
the
rules
security
defines what
What
a
the
family-
Well, I mean, these are the
is.
covenants, and
Constitutes
this,
family.
the covenants supersede the rules.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, the rules.
Well,
The covenants are the base.
No, you can add to. But when
But
it
they're defined
says,
in
but
the
when
rules.
it says, and this, you know,
No, I understand.
okay, each owner in good standing shall have a non-exclusive right, license and easement together with all other owners in their respective families to use the common ground subdivision, lakes, beaches, period. You can't make a rule against that, it's in the covenant.
security
You can add to it.
Okay,
It's
one
in
at a
there.
time, one at a time. You had your hand up.
Define family. But
It's in there.
The other thing is, you know, we moved in and we were down at the beach. How would somebody know, and I wouldn't have a wristband on, how would they know if I was a new resident? If I was a guest with somebody? You know, would I have to go get my driver's license to.
But you have your sticker on your car, so.
You got that new look on your face.
I know.
Well, and just like, we're moving. Anyone that doesn't have a pass, no sticker. And that's how we're catching them, because they're freaking out when they see the tow truck driver come.
They used to, they would go crazy. Before, they would sit, and when we had, the guy doing security down there, and he would sit up there on the, I haven't been to the beach in a long time, but he would sit up there, and the truck would come, and he would say, whoever this is your first warning to move your car. But it sat there. It's not, we didn't call, we paid a fee for that tow truck to sit there on the weekends.
Well, we're lucky, we're not having to pay a fee for this tow truck company. They're ready for this season to be able to do that. But that's the only way that we know who is not supposed to be down there. The people out in the water, out on the beach, in reality, there is no way.
No, and I understand that, but a lot of them, because I live on East Vista, so I see the cars of kids that come in,
And hopefully.
and come in. I mean,
We've covered it, we're good, we get it, you get it. Anybody else? Because we believe one more, because Laura feels like she covered that one, so. All right, so, lawyer to rewrite the bylaws and covenants, that was Dave Woolridge. You want to just throw it out there again and tell us a little bit more, please?
When we were going through the lawsuit with the country club and the actual contract, we met up at the school.
I remember that.
At that point in time, we had the attorney maybe a year. He looked at our covenants and bylaws, and I don't know if he got into the rules or not, but we've witnessed it here tonight. They are an absolute mess. So what I think needs to be done is it's going to take a mass effort of probably pockets of people, 2 or 3 or 4 people together, and trying to take a section of it and find out what it contradicts, and then bring that to either a larger group or a finite group, and start going through the rules and covenants and bylaws. But I think you first got to get it approved before we even waste a minute on it.
well,
And once we get it close, then we take it to the attorney, or the board kind of reviews it, and then we send it to the attorney, because it's got to go through the attorney at some point in time. It's not going to be cheap.
But by approved, you mean voted upon that we should form a committee and some small project groups to work on this thing, so that we,
and change
Are you
things.
trying to say that, because the big conundrum is that because all the changes have to be voted on, like, I went out and I looked at a dozen different communities like ours to look at their covenants, but getting from A to B is really difficult, because if you take this whole huge set of covenants, create a document, and then put it out to vote, okay, approve this, the first thing that happens is that people are so suspicious that you have changed things that were voted on over the years. How you get from A to B?
I don't know,
has
because they're
been a real-
suspicious about the money going from here to someplace else.
Well, my idea when talking to people would be, here's where you run into the two part of it, that you get the approval to start going after with most of the people that vote, which is about 300 to 400 people, agree that the covenants need to be revamped.
Updated.
Right, but then you still got to get that set of what you've updated, then approved again. But I think if you do it that way and you spend a year and have meetings and educate people like this is perfect opportunities, the emails, the newsletters, board meetings, and just talk about, hey, this month we've addressed these 2 items, and maybe we go into a little bit detail at the board meeting. Hey, we've taken the part where you have to have a sticker, but unless you drive this, you don't have to, where we've merged these. And it's probably a year-long process. That way, when you get to that second vote, you've already passed a vote that people agree with us that, hey, they're a mess. Now, hopefully, they vote again to say, yeah, we didn't get everything we wanted, but we got a lot of what we wanted.
And Dave, maybe if we're gonna vote on a specific covenant, have that separate from when we do our yearly voting for board positions and
Not
special
a-
elections.
That's possible, but that's about $3,000 to $4,000 for a special election.
Dave, would it be possible for the first approvable change be just a complete revision of exactly what it says currently? So just do a first one, change of the wording, make it more understandable, kind of go through all the exceptions and this, that, and everything, and then just have like a apples to apples understanding of what the change would be?
Hey, I'm up for whatever you,
Right.
whatever.
That's a great idea.
Clarify it the first time, that way no one's in the dark about it, and then we can kind of go through change by change and like do one of these, we change 10 every year or whatever the case may be. Just to get it so it's understandable so everyone's on the same page.
A lot
I
of
think
that
if
is-
you're gonna go that route, the key is to finding what clashes with each other.
Yes.
Go after those first.
Because otherwise you're going to end up with the same kind of mess we have right
Right.
now.
So
Yeah,
when
because
do
you have a lot of
rules-
redundancies going on.
There was a thought of just handing it to the attorney and say, hey, rewrite these
But that's
parts,
gonna cost us a
at
ton of money.
$250 an hour, that's a chunk of change.
What about the rules? Just gonna do away with them?
No,
No,
no, they
still
would have to be
rules.
part of it.
Yeah, right, okay.
The rules can be changed by a board though, or a committee even, or at least brought a change to the board from a committee.
Yeah, but the rules would all have to be revamped. That's
Well,
what
they
I'm
have to
saying.
be reviewed
They have to be
against.
reviewed.
They would be
Yeah, we-
reviewed to fit.
Right.
But the purpose of initially rewriting the covenants isn't so much to change what's in them, is to just create.
A good
much-
foundation.
Right. But it still technically has to contain everything that the old one did.
Yeah, but like what Dave said, when we all found out with the country club conundrum, you know, with, what was it, 1C or 3C or whatever?
4C.
4C.
It's like tattooed right back here somewhere.
So Deb, if I understood you correctly, it has to contain what the old one did, the intent of it, not the verbiage. of it.
Right.
The spirit of what this paragraph means is this. Now, we've rewritten it into plain English that any fifth grader can read like me, that understands it, so that we're all going like, sure, I sign that, I agree, because no one can read this.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Let's put it to a 5-year-old and let him rewrite it.
If only you
Fifth
could,
grader, I said.
if you could
All right,
get,
forget it, fourth grade level, I can do it.
if only all the voters would participate in the process so that you wouldn't have this whole mass of suspicious people, even as you tried to be as transparent as possible.
But isn't that what, Nick, you said, give a sample of what we're talking about? See, this would now become this. Are you all good with that we go forward with
Yeah.
doing this with everything?
Just like a 1-to-1, and you can even do it side by side.
And then throughout the year, until the vote comes, okay, we've reworked this section, put it out there and go, so you all,
Oh, so you're saying actually before the vote, do the side-by-sides?
Maybe not during the vote, but just, well, yeah, before the vote, we just do a new version of it that says the exact same thing, but just instead of saying, accept this as this is what you can park here, here, and here. This is where your car sticker works, here, 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 and just explain everything that's in
I'm
the.
fine with
maybe
that. I
when
was
they-
just trying to get the temperature of the people in the subdivision about the covenants for
I
that.
think they have to change. I don't think that it's even an option at this point. What's happened is they were created in the 70s, they've been changed every year. So one year they did this, and it's just like the bark of a tree, right? Every
Yeah.
year it's got something else in there, and it just makes
Expanding.
it. It's
And
making,
we're growing, we're
Right.
growing. And
Right.
so
I know.
maybe like when they come up to vote, they would pick up their samples to look at and to be able to review, and they could submit by email or,
well, the hardest part is no matter what we do with the rules, we can't, through any committee, really uphold any of the things we're talking about because each covenant has a hole in it. So it's not even that it's like a want, it's an absolute need at this point to make sure that we have a bulletproof foundation like we talked about. Because when I go to argue ACC stuff, it falls flat.
yeah, and I think putting a letter out, but don't do a mailing because like I've seen now with several people that I've talked to, they didn't even read it. What newsletter? When did that come?
and that's not happening because the expense of it, and that's our money for people to not
Exactly.
read something and trash
So
it.
let 'em
Tom
come up
has
I'm
a
hearing
comment. Tom
everything
has a comment.
between taking just, this paragraph conflicts with this one, and then let's make a list of those, to completely wiping the slate clean and starting over with a new set of covenants. What are we talking about?
Not new
Both,
covenant.
really, both
yeah.
have been discussed. I said, based on what our attorney said, he said he wanted to look at the covenants, remove the contradictory statements in it of what one says and the other one says you can't, and then rewrite that for 2023. This was 4 years ago, but rewrite it that makes sense. Now, granted, he might still throw legalese around it, but write it what makes sense. Now, Nick brought up a good point that let's just, for the next 12 months, let's pick apart the covenants, say, here's what's there, in red is what we want to change, and in blue, this is what we want it to look like. And just get the temperature of people out here so that if that works, then we go through the 5 pages or 8 pages of it, and when we get to the ballot item, people have already figured out, okay, we've already knocked this out of the park. We could even do a trial survey or something throughout the year.
The idea is the intent more than anything else, because conspiracies start when you don't have the intent, and the intent is to make a bulletproof foundation to which we can enforce the things we're talking about today. I mean, if we talk about you need to have a car sticker, and then the covenants say, well, you don't necessarily need a car sticker for this, and this, it shoots your argument right in the foot, and then it falls flat. So all the time we spent deducing this and figuring it out.
A bigger picture, macro look at it, is if, speaking of intent, if you have the board that's in power at the time, taking one by one the paragraphs and say, okay, we need to fix this, we need to fix this, we need to fix this. You can see the intent of that. They want to fix it. If you have, the plan is to be just wiping everything clean and starting over, then that board is going to make Raintree the way it wants it. Period.
I don't think that was what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm not
hearing-
hearing wipe the slate clean with the covenants, I'm hearing
Revamp the covenants. What does that mean?
rewrite it in.
What does that mean?
In layman's
Keeping
terms.
the
Well-
Intent intact.
To me, revamp means make
So
the
that's
way.
all wrong. We gotta make sure we're using the same language.
An issue that we have to come to terms with in this community is that tonight, Derek just told me how many people are watching online. There were 22 people, not counting the board members here tonight. That's 60 people. Last year, I think there were 240 people voted in the election. I can tell you through MailChimp, the electronic communication, between 60 and 70% of the people open it. 30% don't even open it. You know, Mary Jane, you're saying, sorry, you're saying that, my bad, I don't even know my own name some days, but it's that, people got the newsletter and
They didn't
can
even
see
open
across
the envelope.
and they don't even look at the newsletter.
That
I'm
happens
like,
with the paper too.
So I mean, we've got a challenge as to how do we get to the community? And you have no way of knowing who you're getting to are the ones that are gonna show up to vote. And I certainly would say, as a resident here, I do not want an attorney, spend money on an attorney to rewrite the covenants if we don't have the blanket that we're gonna rewrite them under this specifics, get rid of the contradictions, write it in layman's terms, the intent doesn't change, and they pass it, because then we don't have to do a step 2 to pass it. You already passed it, this is what's gonna go on. Maybe it won't pass, maybe it becomes a thing of where, but every board will be different. You take, one page of the document, here's what it was, here's what we want it to be. To show the intent, vote on it, and.
I agree with that, John. I think though it's bigger than just this paragraph versus this
But do we need a
paragraph.
specific number of owners to vote?
Let him speak.
No.
Okay.
The paragraph is a great idea. Nick brought it up, you've emphasized it, but it's this paragraph that contradicts with this paragraph that you've gotta do all this cross-section.
I'm with you on that. I mean.
So, to your point, Tom, yes, it's not a revamp. It's not, oh, hey, now we're just gonna start from, it's to take the existing covenants, clean up the contradictions, and maybe change, instead of it saying, thou shalt do this, it's, you can drive a damn car down the street. So
That's the
maybe
main thing, is just declutter
make it
it.
sensible for people, common sense. I mean, nobody wants to hear, I know they think they gotta be there, all the legal stuff and the way they talk and documents and whatnot, but we need to clean up the controversies. And really, if you're doing it right, your covenants are like this and your rules are like that. We just got it backwards. We got our rules like this and our covenants are like that.
And I think we have it that bad because the covenants are so hard to read.
Right, well, they're so bad.
Right, so,
And there are, like I said, I had reviewed a lot of other communities like this to see what their covenants are. And several of them start with the same template that ours did. But a couple of them have gone through that process and revamped them. The problem is we've had 40 years of annual elections where we've been changing this, changing that. So what we have is quite a lot of difference from what they started with to rewrite theirs.
Deb, how did they rewrite theirs? Did they use a legal professional, or did they do it on their own? Did you investigate any of that?
I think that they used a legal firm, but that's.
Hey,
the
Mikey,
impression I
what do
got.
you think? Yeah, that sounds good to me.
But,
so I think we covered this one really, really well. It sounds like everybody's in agreement, something needs to happen. Our covenants is just the process of how we get there, and we threw out some great ideas of that.
No, I
So,
mean, if we were to.
Laura, did we cover it all?
Aside from Kathy Porter suggesting changing or adding or fixing, somehow
Right.
allowing family members to pay their assessments.
I
I
say
think
maybe you're covered.
with the new
The lawyers.
process,
They're moving the
it's
city,
just kind of a.
it's a.
Right, it'll be taken care of.
Cover the resume?
Me.
I can talk to that more if you like.
No, that's all right.
To that point, John, is that something that we need to procedurally update in the office to say, hey, if somebody comes up here with a check, take it?
No, because
Well, that's
what's
right.
left in the office
That's true.
is stickers, your bond deposit. About the only thing you're gonna pay for the office that you might let somebody else pay is if they have a censure. But I think everything that's remaining here.
Anything that you receive back needs to be the
By
property
the
owner.
rules, it's the property owner, if you rent in the pavilion, it's a campground.
Anything you receive back.
Well,
has to
I
be
mean,
done.
so that would mean that Tim's wife or myself, when I was married to my husband and lived in my other house, couldn't come up here and buy a sticker, you
No.
couldn't pay for the sticker.
Well, that's where
I know.
that's where I think the one of them's talked about, define the family. I think the rules define the family, but, the rules define the family so rigid and tight that, it doesn't allow for cases like you and Joe brought up, it doesn't allow for.
Well, isn't a
you know,
family a married man and wife that are married?
Well, your children.
It could also be,
but you've
domestic
got-
partnership.
You've got couples that,
That's hard. But you're right.
are on.
Go ahead.
State of Missouri
Second marriage.
I mean, I didn't even brought up my marriage license.
So, I
Well,
mean,
they're
there-
still gonna let me buy a
I
sticker.
I read online, there's a situation where, I think it's a mother-in-law who can't drive, lives with her daughter-in-law here, and wants to get a gate code. Not one, just guest, the guest gate,
Oh.
because she can't drive. So if she calls an Uber or a taxi or friends coming to get her, they can't get in here without going through her daughter. Says, I'm not available 24/7 to answer the phone to let him in, but the way that we've got a family so tightly defined, you
Yeah.
can't accommodate.
And that's in the rules,
And I believe, yep,
Yes,
it's
it's
the
in
rules,
here
and
as
I
well.
believe that,
rule change.
Dave, in one of the prior town halls, it was Sherry, right, that brought up, she got a scenario where
Sherry, yes.
something, I forget her scenario.
Her
but-
daughter.
Her daughter lives there with them, but doesn't fall within the under, 21 or whatever, so can't get sticker.
So that's a rules thing, which is,
Well, it could be covenants, I mean, whoever's bringing it up, if you want that rule thing to be part of the covenants, then it would be an add to the covenant.
okay, and Gail, you,
Yeah, I just wanted to say regarding the assessment, family pay. If you go, and I don't know this for a fact, but I do know that if you go to a bank, my son's account was overdrawn one time, and I was gonna run over and put $25 in it to cover his overdraft. And they wouldn't let you. So there might be something legal, about that, why they were doing that. So I was just gonna say, before you can change anything on that.
Well, my bank don't have that problem, so I'll let you know. when it happens.
But
Yeah, it
similar to
does.
Gail, I had that problem, they would not take my money. I'm like trying to give you
I wanna
money,
give you
you're not on the account.
$25, why?
And then I understood it had to do with laundering, so I was like, okay, well, you're.
Money laundering,
Yeah,
yeah.
money laundering, okay, so I get it.
I don't know what happened, Kathy.
It's kind of like the HIPAA thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but HIPAA's only medical.
No,
Yeah.
I know that,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like that.
Right. The privacy issue.
Right.
So Kathy, you have a comment, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, to John's comment. We never had this problem when we had the guard shack, okay? Now, what if we proposed a ballot item that said, and this would take finance, whoever's in finance, to figure out what the salary would be for a guard in the guard shack. Let's say from, what did we have? It wasn't 24 hour, we didn't
Yeah, it
have a
was.
guard
I think it
24.
was.
Yeah.
First move here.
Because I can't remember.
It was 24 hours.
But if we were to raise, put a ballot item, if we were to raise your assessment to this amount of money to support a guard check, and if it passed, then would you guys vote on an increase in your assessment for 24-hour guard check? Rather than giving them this, let's raise it $50, let's raise it $100, but if you could show them black on white what it would cost, I would pay the additional for a guard check, and I'm sure a lot of other people would too. I'm gonna go with the,
Okay, I had gone through and looked at expenses year after year after year. And while we had the guard check, the last several years, the expense was running $77,000. And that was at least 10 years ago. So I'm guessing it would be $100,000 a year to have a guard check.
Okay, David.
So I don't disagree. I think that's the best thing that we can do out here because it takes multiple scenarios to secure an environment like this, but don't do it at an annual election. It's worth the $3,000 to $4,000 on a special assessment because I guarantee you if you do a special election or a special assessment, it'll probably pass. You put it on a ballot item at the annual, it's gonna get lost in the shuffle.
and what if we had a retired police officer who wanted to volunteer his time?
There's issues with
I know what-
volunteerism,
yeah,
and he
okay.
might have to walk in the
Jerry
office.
Jean, Jerry Jean had her hand up.
I think it's great if we could get somebody in the guard shack, but the only problem with that is the guard shack isn't gonna help the problems inside.
It prevents them from getting inside.
It prevents it because you call the guard check and you give them your name and your guest name, and then they give them a code to get in the gate.
They're still gonna get inside.
What about barriers and whatnot to prevent, if somebody runs the gate, they need barriers to keep them from getting too far. And the little barriers we have are not.
They can't do that because of the
Fire.
emergency equipment.
Because of the fire.
That's not true,
Yeah.
Jerry. There's spike trips where emergency equipment has their horns or their tones or whatever, opens those gates and drops the spikes.
Oh, they
Oh, they can do
activate
that
it.
now?
Yeah.
Okay, Desiree has a
I think another thing we forget is that we also have the country club that has to have free access for the fact that it also takes memberships that are public. So.
But you
we
also
have-
have to get a tea time, so that would be communication. I'm sure that's probably what they did before. You get put on the list for your tea time.
No, it's always
But
been,
we had-
you can't block that road
Can't
off.
block that road, no.
But we
No,
had the
you can't
gates.
block it, but they used to confirm they had a
Yeah.
tea time with them up there.
No, they
so-
didn't. It's
Well,
always been open. It's
No.
always been an open road.
There's nothing preventing us if you can figure it out from talking to Tucker to see.
Yeah,
if
I'm
he's
sure he'd
willing
work
to-
with us,
I mean,
but
They would never,
I used to come down here to my buddy's house and that was like the Kremlin to get past that
There's
place.
plenty of private clubs that
Uh-uh.
have the golf course and the restaurants and everything
Everything
locked
is
down.
there.
no, it was never locked down.
I'm not saying it was, but you could talk to Tucker to see how open he would be to it. I mean, he lives here himself, so.
But we know how open he is.
Okay, so everything is figure-outable, right? Sounds like, right?
So if you
What
did,
we wanna do.
if you had a guard check or a guard in there at $15 per hour times 24 hours a day times 365 days a year, it's $131,000 at the end of the year. divided by roughly 2,000 property owners, of people that pay assessments, it's like $65 per year increase.
Oh, wow.
It's a no-brainer.
But $15 an hour
Kathy,
may
are you
have
gonna
to cheaper.
And-
Because my husband does that, and
Right.
he's making 30 an hour or more.
And
So if you're
you can stop wasting money on all the security that isn't working.
Okay, Betsy?
I have a comment, different subject.
You can't do that.
Is there anywhere in the covenants that says, as further outlined in the rules, or
Several places.
there is? Okay.
Betsy did bring up a really good point with that. Our covenants say section 1 through 19 in Raintree Forest.
1 through 25.
Oh, you guys owe
Well,
extra
there's
money.
that.
Hand up over here. The last thing, it sounds like we're coming to a close. I just want to say thank you, and I think a lot of people would join me with this, to our board members. The amount of time that you guys put in of your own free time is appreciated.
We volunteered for this. You need to thank our wives, our husbands.
How new are you?
Yeah.
How new are you?
I've been here since COVID, 2020. So, but I'm one that, I do, and I think they'll attest. I come to the meetings, my husband is usually able tonight, and you know, we care, and so.
Thank you.
Desiree, did you have another, or you already said it? No. No, okay,
Barbara
cool.
camping.
Yeah.
Let your kids camp in the backyard.
There was actually people, there were people in the past that complained about if somebody did have a tent up in their backyard, that because it's in our rules or covenants the way it is, technically they're not supposed to.
Do those people have their cars and boats parked in the right spot?
All right, Derek?
Yeah, so this really isn't a ballot item, but more just, I guess, a community discussion. Engagement, you know, he brought up a number of people in here. We had 43 total viewers online tonight,
That's
so
good. That's
about 60 people, about 700 households. That's probably less than 5%, you know, represented
That's
of
better
actual
than what
houses.
you normally would expect.
And it's better than what we get on a monthly basis. My question is, as a group, what are some ideas that we can do to get community engagement up? I mean, there's a lot of people that we're not reaching out to.
You're right. Food. Food.
I love seeing the popcorn and the snacks and that.
I'll tell you how you get people here. You tell them their assessments are going up $100.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Then the windows are open and they're standing outside yelling in.
I would like to say one thing, as
Thanks
much
for
as
coming.
I appreciate everybody on the board, Tom walking out is a big help in this subdivision. I would also like to say that Derek does a hell of a job, and he does it.
So to Derek's point, we've all been here, you know, go back and say you should have been there. It was a great discussion. We got to hear a lot of, you know, these town hall meetings are worth it. There was food. One took it back, there was food. You know, really talk it up. It's a slow process, you know, to go from an old mindset to a newer one, but we're getting there. The town halls are definitely doing it. The live streaming, you know, that didn't happen 5 years ago, right? This is a new thing. People can do it from the home, and like you said, lots of people joined in and we took their comments, so they were heard. Their voices were heard. And so the next town hall will probably happen in April, and those of you who are left, anybody have any suggestions about what that topic should be about in April?
Not the topic, but can we call it the L&L show?
I was just about to say, that doesn't mean that Linda and Laura are gonna head up every town hall
Great job
discussion though,
tonight.
okay?
No, you guys did a good job.
We didn't have too many people walk out mad, but seriously, topic for April?
They were mad when they walked in.
Yeah.
Topics for April?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, would it be worth going through some of the rules and just trying to pick it apart, and that's something that's easily
That's a
changeable?
great
That
idea.
takes a long time.
Oh,
We
yeah, it
spent
does.
Months going through.
Oh,
these.
yeah,
Well,
it
you gotta start
does.
somewhere.
But maybe just one or two.
Right.
Well, why don't we
didn't have
do,
rules.
why don't we do this?
Survey
Let-
by section, so
Can we
it'd
do
be
a
like
survey?
beach rules, or
Right, just pick them
take a
apart.
section.
Or why don't we, this group that's left here, that's listening to this, or anybody online, why don't we try to attack the covenants like you mentioned? Let's find out what's contradictory. Everybody try to rumble through them real quick and see, okay, this didn't make sense because this is here, and we grab
Look
that
for
right away.
discrepancies. Look for discrepancies.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Look for
More of a
discrepancies.
Yeah.
More of a deep dive, working, meeting versus open forum, town hall discussion.
I think it could be maybe everybody comes back with their homework complete. In the first 15 to 20 minutes, you try to go through what everybody found and then turn it into a regular town hall. I'm just throwing it out there.
That's a great idea. So teacher's giving everybody homework, so you can be mad at him, not yelling at him.
You guys did a really good job. I like the way it was run.
Everyone has to leave with a cup of either popcorn or pretzels, because I'm not taking it.
I'll take the bowl.
I'm taking some chocolate. But again,
Derek,
thank you for
Any
your
last minute
time and attention.
No, you guys
Hey,
put a
Dave.
lot of time.
I want to ask you something.
Yep.
You